All right, we live,
Hey,
man.
we are live. Look
Yeah,
at that. Just
live.
live.
So now you can see the camera how it looks for me because it's
Mm-hmm.
more facing you, but it's dead even on the shot.
Yeah, exactly. Look
Yeah,
at
this
that.
doesn't make any sense. All right, let's share this.
Right in there. See? I just it's weird because I can't see myself, but I can see myself.
I know.
It's so strange. But the good thing is that we're here, we're live and in charge. We're
We are
seeing
live.
everybody.
We are live on all platforms, really.
All
Mainly
platforms.
just Facebook.
Almost, yes.
All right, let me see here.
we
Oh,
are
there we
we
are.
are we are
Oh God, there's a lot going on here.
You don't want the reverb, man. You don't want the reverb.
Okay.
Let me go ahead.
Here we are. Here
That's
we
why I
are.
turn my sound off so that way
Share.
you don't do
Um,
nothing.
no, what's happening right now? I'm gonna cross that out. This is actually being way too complicated than if I just did it on my desktop. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm not used to this. This is new technology right here.
Newfangled technology, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Some reactions already.
Oh.
All right, so we're live. I mean, the main thing is this: we're live for an in-person catch-up.
Yes, we are.
And whoa,
The
all right,
Neil is real.
yeah, and we've been excited for doing this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time coming.
It is. It
So,
is.
the last in-person catch-up we had was in April, I think. The last recorded one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
So
It's been a minute, man.
it's been a while. Yeah. So we are live in the basement, cooking up.
Mm-hmm. We're in
And
the
just really
basement.
excited to have this going.
Mm-hmm.
Got a whole bunch of things that we're going to talk about. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
we are in person right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so hit us with your questions and comments. We're going to be looking at it right here.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a little bit of inception on the live stream. There's like a stream within a stream within a
Yeah,
stream, right?
exactly. Just keeps on going.
I know. One day when we're like more accessible to each other to be
Mm-hmm.
present with it, I want to have multiple cameras and then just like a switcher that I'm tapping between the two of us.
Yeah, no, I would love to have that.
I
Just
know.
have a whole studio, and then we could have it to where we could have like a monitor on both sides of us
Mm-hmm.
that has the comments.
Oh yeah.
So that way we both can read at the same time, still be in
Yeah.
the same spot. Good to go.
That'd be a good idea.
I just look halfway past you.
Yeah,
Oh my
whoa.
gosh. Whoa, okay, we're good.
Brace for impact live stream, people. So
Um,
Dennis is using a different mic than normal. He's using my regular mic. And
uh-huh.
I actually got the vocal mic that I use for my gigs, and that some guy who was a big fan of another guy at the gig last night put his lips on. So
that
this
was fun.
this mic's got history to it, man. That's all I'm saying. But it was a wild story.
Very.
Basically, the long story short is that this guy was a big fan of his friend John Harrison running for Mays School Board. So if you live in Mays, Kansas,
don't vote for him. Sorry, no.
Probably not. Probably a good idea actually, because his friends are pretty crazy. And told me to give him a shout out, and even he was like, "You don't have to listen to this guy. Like, please don't listen to him." So it was it was an interesting time. Wouldn't leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
Came over, tried to get me in my break early just to give this guy a shout out.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you get that drunk? Imagine getting that drunk.
Well, but the thing is, though, like he was there before we even got there, right?
Yeah.
So he's probably been drinking for quite a while. So
yeah,
and he still had drinks in his hand. So I don't even know how he was doing that.
I know. Yeah, he went hard on a Saturday night, man.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to be waking up early to go to church in the morning. To be honest with you,
I know. He was an older guy, man. So I'm sure that next morning hurt.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. He was an old head. Yeah, I had a couple of hecklers. He was one of them. Tried to get me in my break early. Was like, man. He's like, come on, let's do this thing. And he was like, I'll buy your drinks the rest of the night. And then they knew what was up. He goes, after that, because he goes, all his drinks are on me. And they're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, but seriously, make them pay for my stuff.
I know.
I ain't trying to pay for all that. So anyway, it's fine. But look, we got some things that we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I know we discussed a couple of different things. First, we're gonna kind of talk about Hurricane Ida real fast.
Yep.
Just real quick opener on that. Second, we want to talk about the Apple's antitrust lawsuit. One of them, one of the big ones.
Yeah, one of the cases that they had dealing with some smaller developers.
Yeah,
It's a class action lawsuit, so
It-
they settled.
it allows
Cool stuff.
those companies to have the autonomy, right, to do their own development. Well, they don't have
Or-
to have Apple approval, right?
They can have in-app purchases out of the app, so you can actually go. Currently, the way it is in the iOS store is that you have to have, if you, and we'll go into this a little bit deeper, of course, when we go over the topic, but essentially you have to go through the in-app purchase stuff, so that way Apple gets their cut of 30% or something like that. Well, this allows them to be able to go to their website, go to the developer's website and actually purchase it directly from them, cutting Apple out.
Yeah. It'll be interesting that, and then we want to talk about the I wrote it. Why am I blanking, dude? I wrote it in the context or in the title here.
You want me to? Unless you got it.
No, yeah, there we go. The milk crate challenge.
Yeah,
everybody's seen it going around.
Mm-hmm.
It blew up real quick and then died out real quick.
Yeah,
and unfortunately,
just like the pain.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean that literally too.
Mm-hmm.
It resulted in the death, and we kind of want to talk about these crazy challenges, Cinnamon Challenge, Tide Pod Challenge, that come out of nowhere and people are causing harm to themselves. But to me, there's another layer I want to touch on here too. Is where are people getting all these milk crates?
I know. I don't seem to be able to find them.
I know. I never gone to a store and be like, oh, milk crate, bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me
Got it.
I'll take 35 of those, please. No
Let me take
specific
'em all.
reason. I know, no specific reason or anything. So yeah, we got a bunch of stuff we want to talk about, and I have a fantasy football draft in about an hour and a half. So
Exactly. We're gonna try to make it a little bit quick and concise.
yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start recording. Not on my normal program. I'm going to record online. Point.
We're online. Yep. You got a point, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, while John's going ahead and starting the recording, remember to check us out on all of our social media platforms that we have. Of course, you are right now on Facebook. I would hope so. You're on Facebook watching us live, which is amazing. Thank you for that. But you can also check us out on Instagram. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel. We're actually really trying to grow that and really try to get going. We're actually starting to do a lot more shorts, so those are nice, quick, concise things.
Yeah, you can get a little bit of knowledge, or we're just spreading knowledge, bro.
Exactly, straight knowledge.
Yeah, man. Just a little something, a little bit of a taste of the episode that you can take with you on your day.
Exactly. And of course, if you find you enjoy it a little bit more, you can go ahead and check out the whole podcast episode. Of course, you can also check us out, and it also helps us help support the show by going to our website, which is nosignal.com.
Nosignalrocks.com.
Nosignalrocks.com. Thank you. /
the ketchup podcast.
Exactly.
Or the simplest way is just go to nosignalrocks.com and hit the drop down menu. You'll see the ketchup podcast on there.
And you can check out all of our videos. You can check out all of our episodes there. You can also buy some cool merch.
Absolutely.
We got all the good stuff. We got shirts, we got hoodies, we got caps, we got mugs.
We got this good clean shirt.
Look at that. Look at that. Pretty.
This is probably the first full body shot y'all ever gotten of this too. So soak it in. This is a good clean t-shirt right here. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, man.
First of all, I haven't worked out for a month, right? And I still look swollen this day.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to get a
Fits
dad.
great.
I'm not trying to get a dad bod. I just had surgery a month ago, so here we are. But man, yeah, check out our merch. I'm very proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
You get all our episodes, all our videos in one place.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? You had one more thing to pitch before I get into the website a little bit more.
Well, yeah, of course. And you also have a great way to reach out to us, which is, or did you want me to actually?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, okay. So yeah,
Anyway.
no. Of course, you can reach out to us. A great way to do that is by emailing us at our wonderful, wonderful email, which is the ketchupcast@gmail.com. That's the ketchupcast
At
gmail.com.
gmail.com. Yep.
You can send us your questions. You can send us your concerns, your comments, all that wonderful things. But it's just another great way to be able to communicate with us, talk to us. Again, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but we really want to get to a point to where, one, we're really just being able to interact with you guys as much as possible. But it'd be great to be able to do like an episode directly from you guys, like all the questions and comments and things that you would want us to cover just from like a whole episode just based on that would be so cool.
Yes.
It's a great way to give back to our amazing community that we have listening to our episodes, as well as being able to just kind of interact with you guys in a whole different way. And then, of course, if you also wanted to, have the opportunity to be on the podcast, you can also email us there, and we can kind of start the conversation and kind of go from there.
Yeah, all those are great things to remember. One thing I wanted to say real quick, I think I'm almost to a point where it's been a controversial discussion among Denison and John, but almost to the point where I'm ready to hire a website manager and developer. And I'm going to create a contract. It'll be a 3-month trial period first, but explain the things I want done, and it's updating with new merch, or it's, making sure that programs are running properly and all this and that, but also managing our MailChimp account. So that way when people buy, they get on an email list and brings up email marketing, that whole thing. And then SEO, of course. So it's going to be a lot of things I'm going to lay out that I want to have managed. It's going to be a big project. That's why I want it managed, because I don't have time for it.
Exactly.
I can't.
It's a lot for us.
Yeah. So even if you're watching, you know somebody or are somebody that'd be interested in managing our web platform, let us know. But and like a stipulation of that for the band, actually they would check in with us every week, and here's what's going on with the band that week, here's what's going on with the podcast that week, all that kind of stuff, and then they would make sure it's up to date with all of that. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're getting close on that, and you'll see a lot more activity on our web platforms, and hopefully we'll see a lot more activity on our web platforms too. So really excited about all that. But yeah, that said, man, I think we're ready to jump into the podcast.
Of
here,
course,
so
man. Of course.
we'll keep this first segment short for sure. All right, we're rolling now.
Oh man.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Man, it is great every time we do this. We got
Always.
in-person catch-up going with Denison. Yeah. Denison is up in Kansas. First time in, I think, 2 years, man.
Yeah, it's been a little while, man.
It is.
Kansas has changed a little bit since I've been here. Ever since I last was here,
The whole state just ups its game.
Exactly.
Yeah, after your review, I understand.
Yeah, man.
If we want people like Denison coming back, we got to change. But I will say, we almost made it through an entire weekend without the Denison curse arriving.
I know.
Every time Denison's here, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It's cold and it's rainy.
Well, yeah, no, you're right. It's always been cold, because I was going to say there was one time that I drove up here that I think it was still sunny, but it got cold.
It got cold.
It got cold. I was hoping I was going to dodge it. I was going to be like, all right, we're good to go.
No, not in this time. A cold front came through and it started raining. So we can't avoid it. But we've had a lot of fun. It was really one full day, but Was able to take Denison around to some of my favorite Wichita places, including the Brickyard, where my bands perform pretty often. And we did a live stream or attempted a live stream from there. We did record an episode from there. And then, a couple coffee shops around town, the studio, saw our good friend, just show Daniel Garrett. And then, he's also my bandmate. And Denison even got to come out to one of the acoustic shows at my favorite acoustic venue, the Humidor, which would be a great place, by the way.
Yeah, man.
If you lived up here, this is the challenge with this podcast. But if you lived here, for example, the Humidor would be a great place to do the podcast weekly.
Yeah, man. It would be an awesome place to just chill out there and be able to do an amazing podcast. It'd be awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, to have a weekly, like a business partnership with them.
Exactly. Do like a live show, man.
Awesome. It would be. But it is what it is. Anyway, it's been a great weekend. But speaking of the weather, which is always a great transition. While we can joke and complain about what's going on here, down south is much worse, man. And I'm talking specifically Louisiana. It's very interesting to me that this Category 4 storm that was right on the cusp of being a Category 5 storm is making landfall in Louisiana on the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And God willing, this will be nothing like Katrina. And of course, if we're honest about it, there's a set window for storms like these to make landfall. It is coincidental, but maybe not.
We're in the season.
Yeah. Maybe it's not supernatural that this is happening, right?
Yeah.
But just, as they say, thoughts and prayers go out to them down there. A serious situation. I have a couple friends that live down there. Hopefully everybody's taking shelter and taking cover and everything. There's just a lot going on, a lot going on with that. I know we were talking about this earlier, but the time Hurricane Katrina hit, they shut down all those oil rigs in the Gulf, right? Because it was such a serious storm.
Yep.
And just shot up gas prices pretty much immediately. People made long lines out. People were waiting in hours to fill up their vehicles, waiting 4 hours to fill up the vehicles and fill up gas cans. And it makes me wonder if that's going to happen again. I doubt it.
But I would hate for that. I doubt it too. But, I feel like a lot of the gas places love to just use any sort of turmoil to heighten the amount of money that they can pay or that people can that they can charge individuals.
I agree, and I think that's exactly my point. Is there was no doubt that oil companies use this opportunity to make huge financial gain from Hurricane Katrina. Just used it as an excuse to more than double gas prices for a long time, for many years. Really through. Well, you know what? It really wasn't until 2014, I think, that gas prices started going back down to a significant degree. They were still high threes for the longest time.
Yeah. I mean, I think I do remember though when we were in Texas, it got to $3 a gallon for like a little bit, and then it jumped back down. It jumped down to I say jumped down. It really went to like 270 something. Yeah, and it kind of stayed at that level. Sure, 270, 250 for a little bit of time. But
no, that's exactly right. And then when I moved up to Kansas, it started to go down and went down to about 170 or so. And I just thought, man, sweet spot. That sounds great. That seems like a good price to pay for gas.
Yeah.
And I know they're still making a profit, right? But they're not making as much of a profit as they want, perhaps. It's interesting how corporations use moments like this for their own benefit. And, we see it a lot across a whole bunch of different organizations, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With different set of circumstances too.
I mean, hey, we already saw it during the pandemic.
With mask manufacturers.
Yeah, with mask manufacturers and toilet paper.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
I would love to know, because we've talked about this even recently. Those fake accounts that are made to start a conversation
Mm-hmm.
on social media and entice and draw people in to a discussion or a product.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, I'm wondering if the CEO of Shardman created a fake account and said, "Guys, toilet paper shortage, get all that you can."
Yeah.
It just started this whole thing. It would be interesting, but I think that the times where, because it happened again with Hurricane Rita, and that was a big impact where uh, really any major tornado that hits Houston is going to have an impact on our oil production, our gas production, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you had Hurricane Harvey a few years ago.
Yeah.
And guess what? Gas prices did not dramatically spike. And that thing just parked right over Houston for like days.
Yeah.
So those moments and moments like this show you just how greedy corporations or entire worldwide organizations can be when it really benefits them, right? When it really behooves them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting to see. But most importantly, I just hope that, the levees stay intact and everyone stays safe down there, and what's really a volatile community for flooding and
Mm-hmm.
strong storms. So, yeah, but we got a lot of other things we want to talk about
We do.
while we have this in-person catch-up going. Very
Mhm.
excited about it. We want to talk about Apple's one of their antitrust lawsuits
Mhm.
that allows different apps to offer in-store or in-app purchases
Yep.
that are outside of the Apple Store, right?
Mhm.
And that's a big deal because it puts more money in the app developers' pockets, gives them more incentives to do different and unique things. And I think
Mhm.
on a more of a devil's advocate kind of side of it, there's a lack of restriction, right,
Mm.
on what you can purchase in these apps, I would think.
To an extent, but
Or
not
lesser
not not
restriction.
not exactly. Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's something we can talk about,
Mhm.
something we can absolutely jump into.
Mhm.
And then I want to talk about the milk crate challenge, man. This thing is wild, and I can laugh about it for the most part, but what really drew my attention to it was when someone in Dallas, where we're both from, the area of where we're both from,
Mhm.
died from doing it.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
terrible situation, and I want to talk about these type of viral challenges that get people to do the stupidest of things.
Yeah.
I think the milk crate challenge in and of itself is not the stupidest of things I've ever seen, but its implementation and how people have been doing it has been really dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It gets up there for
yeah,
sure, and it's a little crazy.
well, we can get into this later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so got a lot we want to talk about, so let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, man. Yeah. This is great. This is great energy to have.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff.
Some in-person catch-up going.
Mhm.
Definitely on the live stream. Leave your comments. Start the conversation with us. We
Mhm.
want to have it with all y'all while we're here, while we're in person.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like we can communicate a little bit better sometimes.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Hopefully the audio's looking good, looking right.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we're not too loud. If we are, please tell us. It helps a ton, so that way we can know what's going on. But yeah. Let's just
check. All right, probably better now.
Oh
On
man.
my end, it's probably better.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I just screamed check into the mic. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and do
Chickadee
this thing,
check.
man.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do
man.
the intro.
Of course.
3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Denison.
and this is the catch up.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah, so I just blew Christina's ears out.
Oh no, it's a little loud.
Yeah, well, I had it set to line input. Or no, my bad. I had it set to instrument input, which is quieter than line.
Okay.
And so I switched it to line, and it still looked okay, and it was like, "Wah."
Okay.
So
Well,
should be okay now.
it might have been.
Yeah, looking good.
It might have been because I was a little close, so I'll go a little bit back.
Well, it's mostly me too, because she said, "Ow, my ears," because I was like, "Check." All right, so let's go ahead and slap into it.
Yeah, man. Get right on into it.
Yeah, and just continue to let us know, because
Yes,
we don't
please
do
do.
this often. Obviously, we know the formula for the virtual episodes that we've done for several years now. We know how to make that sound good. But this is still something we've continued to work on over the time.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, and it's always hard when you have to, deconstruct a set and reconstruct it and change the formatting and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Okay, she says it sounds good, so I'm going to take that and run with it.
man.
I think we're doing good things now. All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead and get into our show here. So 3, 2, 1. All right, before we do get into these topics, you already know we have to pitch the best ways to connect with us.
You have to.
We have to. So 3 things. 1, we're live streaming on Facebook right now. Is an awesome way to connect with us in real time as we record these episodes. You can have an impact and help guide the discussion of the conversation, whatever we're talking about. We actively reply to the comments while we're recording, and integrate it into part of our episodes. And so it's a really fun way for us to catch up with you as you catch up with us and we catch up with each other. And it's what in my mind makes this episode unique, just giving people something to connect to with our in-depth conversation on a variety of topics, long form, in-depth brotherly conversation, but having allowing other people to get involved in it as well. That's what in my mind makes this podcast special. So have that. We have our we have our website, actually is the next thing I want to mention. It's nosignalrocks.com. Click the drop down menu and you'll find the Ketchup Podcast. We have all of our episodes. We have merch and apparel, like this t-shirt I'm rocking on the live stream. You could see if you were on it. Let's go ahead and get into a t-shirt. You can hit the link and find it too. And then we have all of our videos in one spot too, which Denison's been doing great work, and I'm putting some YouTube shorts, since that's kind of the thing that YouTube's been pushing lately. They're trying to compete with TikTok and all of that, Gen Z stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, a lot of people seem to enjoy that format, so yeah, we might as well go ahead and try it out, see how it goes.
Yeah.
We've been getting a little bit of traction there. So sometimes it's a little bit easier and cooler to digest certain topics in a short form factor than it would be if we did a long form factor like we have on the podcast. So
absolutely. So gives you a little taste of the episodes, but also the main thing I want to say right now is leave us a rating and review.
Yes.
And subscribe if you like us. Let us know how we're doing. And anytime we get a positive rating and a positive review, it tells the algorithm to share it and make it more visible to more people. And so it's a compounding effect that allows us to continue to grow. And then on top of that, we get to know what you're thinking about our episodes and what we're doing great, and maybe even what we can improve on. So please do that for us. It just take quick 30 seconds of your time. Leave us a rating review. And that's really it, man. Of course, we have our Instagram. Instagram.com/theketchupcast, Facebook.com/theketchupcast, or just search the Ketchup Podcast on either of those platforms. And you can email us at theketchupcast@gmail.com. That's theketchupcast@gmail.com.
Oh man,
I know. You can give us your thoughts on our episodes. You can write directly to us in a long form, or you can even make a pitch to join us on an episode for an in-depth discussion on whatever topic you have in mind. We did that with our friend Matt Bushek a few months back, where he talked about going to a isolated island, basically during the entire start of the pandemic to November.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting episode that I didn't know that was going on in his life, but he reached out to us, and that's how we found out about it. So please go ahead and do that. It'd be an awesome way for us to connect.
And you can also find the video version of that. I just wanted to interject that, but the video version of that on our podcast YouTube channel. So it's also a great way to check it out too.
It's a great point. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into our topics. We have Apple.
Mm-hmm.
We want to start off with that topic here. They have lost an antitrust lawsuit.
Or they've settled.
Settled on
They've
it?
settled
Okay.
an antitrust lawsuit. Now, this isn't the big one with that they have going on with Epic. That one, Epic's going for Apple's throat.
Right.
So yeah, that's a big one. That's going to be a long process. But this lawsuit kind of showcases just how serious Apple is taking this Epic lawsuit, to be honest. And it's really interesting. Very, very interesting. We're really going to get in depth with it.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and explain it to us? Because I know that there have been a couple of really big cases in regards to Apple's App Store. They have very tight control over it.
Mhm.
They have to authenticate and clear every app that goes on their store before it does. I like that for the sake of quality control. It's something that other app stores don't have as strict of, and it puts you at risk in some cases for malware or downloading viruses in some cases. Now I think those are really off the beaten path apps, and you'd probably have to kind of not have any idea what you're doing for that to end up being an issue. But I think for the sake of quality control, it's a great thing that Apple offers, but there are also other factors that they were controlling and banning, prohibiting, etc., that really contradicts the free market mentality and free market approach. So why don't you go ahead and explain?
Yeah.
And then we'll get into why this is such a big deal here.
Yeah. So what happened is in this lawsuit, it's a class action lawsuit with a bunch of small developers. So these are small businesses, small business developers who are creating their own apps. They filed a class action lawsuit against Apple saying that Apple is competing in an antitrust competitive behavior, very similar to the lawsuit that is ongoing with Apple and Epic. And so essentially what this lawsuit entailed, and I don't know, I'm not a legal expert, so I can only give the best that I can say, but essentially what happened is they settled on a really big case saying that they will start allowing developers to be able to suggest and allow their users to purchase in-app purchases on their website as opposed to doing it directly within the App Store itself, or I should say within the app, where Apple gets a 30% cut of those purchases. So that's kind of one of the big things, right? Being able to have users to go outside and actually be able to purchase things directly to the developer, from the developer, I should say, rather than being able to go through Apple and do all that other stuff, is great. One, it makes sure that developers actually have the ability to not have to pay so much, because a 30% cut on something that essentially the app's just being hosted on there, but the services that are in the app, the services that the app runs on and stuff like that are all technically the company is paying for. So they're having to pay a 30% fee just because their app was on the App Store, which is kind of crazy. So it's nice that that's actually a positive out of this case. Another thing is that they are Apple actually has a big small developers fund, per se, I should say, where they I think they either lower or get rid of that 30% if you have less than 1 million downloads on your app or something like that, where a lot of these smaller app developers don't have. But the problem is that number goes really quick. It's not that hard to get to that point when it comes to downloads and users and stuff like that going to your app. And so what Apple is going to do is they're actually going to extend the period in which you can stay in that.
Mm.
And then at the same time, they're also going to create a fund with $100 million in that fund for these small app developers. Now there's a caveat to that.
Okay.
Um,
So, and by the way,
mhm.
this would help small time, or I don't even want to say small time, but smaller companies have a chance to grow. It's kind of like
Yep.
a small business economic fund,
Exactly.
but in the virtual space, right?
Yes, in the Apple ecosystem.
Which is good. So on that, to me, what would be a positive about that, which it sounds like you're setting it up for a negative, but what would be a positive about that is it would invite more companies to want to use the Apple app space, right?
Yes.
Rather than Android.
Well, I mean, it allows more small developers to be able to um, host their applications on more iOS platforms than they may have on Android. So some of these small developers are actually exclusively on Android because of the amount of uh, power that Apple has when it comes to like how much Apple charges when it comes to purchases. Because on the Android platform, that's already kind of baked in, right? You can, if you technically want to, you can always go to the, you know, in the case of, I'll just use Fortnite as just a good example, but essentially, if you wanted to buy Fortnite bucks, I don't know what it's called, but anyway, you wanted to buy Fortnite bucks
sure.
For your Fortnite account, instead of having to go through the application, you can actually just go directly to their website, saying like, "Bam, this is my account." Add it to there, and you're good to go. Where in Apple they blocked that. That's not possible, or they did block that, I should say. And so now they're actually opening that up. So a lot of developers who didn't want to go to iOS because of that kind of caveat and issue and stuff like that, it gives them more of a process to do that. A lot of developers tend to diversify, so they tend to have their application on both platforms.
So let me ask this. This is based off of working in news and how we always try to drive people to our website, even if it's a link to another thing we want to have, maybe it's a sign up, right? For back in the day, it was a sign up for getting the vaccine or something like that, right? But we'd offer that link on our website, so you could go to our website to hit another link, right? But that's a hit for our website, so that's ad revenue, that's ad traffic. In a different sense, is that kind of the goal here by these third-party developers wanting people to go off of Apple's app store to buy these the store purchases, to go to their website? Maybe you go to your website, or I'm sorry, maybe you go to the company's website and you see other products or add-ons that you're interested in, right? And you buy those. Is that kind of the idea, is to drive more sales traffic, as to why they would fight for that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's an antitrust behavior because you don't give your users an alternative. It's I mean, and we already know this a lot about the Apple ecosystem, and that, yes, in some ways it does have some benefits to that, but it also has some downsides to it as well. Because as you kind of said before, sometimes it means that you get more secure applications and stuff like that. But with that, you also make it to where there could be a more secure applications out there, but they can't make it onto the App Store because for some strange reason Apple just said, no, we don't want your stuff on our platform.
Sure. Yeah.
And so just going back to the main thing when it comes to this one, it can up the amount that users have the opportunity to pay for in-app purchases, because that's the thing, right? If the only location that you have to get these in-app purchases is through the application,
Yeah.
then and it's getting a 30% cut.
Mm-hmm.
Usually what app developers are going to do is they're going to up the price to be able to keep a certain margin within that, because again,
Sure.
you're having to pay 30% cut.
That's really the biggest thing is and is that not the case regardless of if it's in-app purchase or not? It is like if the app costs something itself to download, which is rare nowadays, but even if it does, Apple still gets a 30% cut of that as well,
Yep,
right? Okay.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Sorry.
For just hosting it. And
Yeah.
that's I guess that's kind of one of the bigger things that Epic's going for in their case, is that it's like you're just hosting an application
Yeah.
on your platform. It's not like in the olden days, because the whole point of the 30% deal came from old retailers, where it's literally, you create a product, you are using the retailer and their logistics and their warehouse space to house your product, so that way it can go onto their store shelves. So essentially you're just paying into that, and makes sense in that point, right?
Sure.
You create a product, you do this, but these are all digital assets at this point.
Mm.
So why do I have to pay a 30% cut for something that they're they're just putting on their platform? Once it's downloaded into the iPhone or whatever, everything else is handled by me,
Yeah.
the app developer or whatever. So that's kind of like the bigger picture. But going back and going on to the smaller term, like I said, it's customers end up having to suffer. And so now giving them this opportunity, you're still giving users and your customers the opportunity to be able to purchase it within there. They'll probably still have those higher prices, but they can say, hey, if you want a discounted price or whatever like that, it may take a little bit, it may be extra steps that you have to jump through.
Gotcha.
But you can go into our website and purchase it here for a discounted rate.
Sure. So do you think that that with this win for third-party developers, do you think that their prices will go down, or do you think they'll keep the same prices for these in-app purchases and just make more bank to take home? I think
Go ahead.
it's going to be that. And it's because I'm a bit cynical, as we were talking about in regards to oil prices with corporate America, or not even corporate America, but just business in general. If you have a customer base with people already paying that amount, and then all of a sudden you're making 30% more profit by not even adjusting the price, why would you lower the price?
Well, I mean, I think for the in-app purchase part, I think they're going to keep the same price. So I think
agree.
you're correct on that. But I think they are going to still offer a discount if you want to go to their website.
Okay.
Because essentially what would happen is it's like you're paying for the convenience by purchasing it through the app itself, because Apple's not foregoing that or whatever that. And then if you move over to their website, you can get a discounted rate or the rate that they actually would be wanting to charge in general for that service.
Sure.
Because you went onto their website and it's going directly to them. So you can also think of it as like another way to support directly the developer himself.
Gotcha.
Plus, you have to remember too, these are for smaller developers. So I don't think that they're going to keep the price the same. Like, you could purchase it in the app or you can purchase it on our website for the same price. It wouldn't make any sense.
No, I agree. Okay, so what were you going to say in regard to the overall impact of this lawsuit? My question is not, I mean, we've discussed how this impacts it here and now, but my question is more so about, how does this impact the other antitrust lawsuits? I know that this would be speculation at best, but it seems like there's an opening in these civil cases, these business cases, that to make a case that Apple is not allowing for free market and basically the type of economy, right, or business to business partnerships and relationships that our country is framed on, capitalism
Mm-hmm.
and such and so forth. So to me, if I had to speculate, losing this one opens the door for more, which I know, like the Epic Games thing, we can touch on that more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you an example. This is another trending story right now. A lot of people are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the now man, 31-year-old man,
Mm-hmm.
um, who was the baby on Nirvana's Nevermind album,
Mm-hmm.
that was swimming in the pool, reaching for a dollar bill. He's now suing Nirvana, saying, among other things, he was made to look like a sex worker. Yeah, made this looks like child pornography, or it is a depiction of child pornography. Although through various interviews over the years, he said how interesting and cool and unique of a thing it is to be that person,
Mm-hmm.
with one of the most iconic and game-changing albums of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's even recreated it multiple times throughout his life. Okay, even as recently as 5 years ago, on the 25th anniversary of the album, he recreated the album cover with a bathing suit on, but still.
Oh yeah.
And the baby was naked, but I think when the album really blew up, they made them reprint it with editing to cut out little tiny part, right?
Yeah.
So if this guy were to win this lawsuit, which he won't, because of the outlandish accusations, the fact that his parents agreed to this deal with
Mm-hmm.
the band and the record label, and if you wanted to add that he should be getting reciprocal for it, I could hear that argument, but that's not really
Yeah.
what he's saying here. He just wants payment from the band based off of, from the band specifically, by the way, not the label or
Which is funny.
or production team. It just shows they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, and so to me, it just shows that agreed. But what my point is here is, if he were to win that,
Mm-hmm.
that would set a precedent for all sorts of artistic representations of things, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's music or movie covers or whatever, a lot of different stuff, that they could be at risk for lawsuits where they have to settle for other outlandish things,
Mm-hmm.
not child pornography, obviously, but
Oh yeah.
just a bunch of, who knows? You could look. I don't even know. What would you say? Like, um, let's take one of Devon's songs, right?
Uh-huh.
So full disclosure, podcast exclusive. Some of the earlier stuff, he was taking Google copyright free images, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then highly editing them to make an album cover out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like ghetto rigged way we did it back then.
Mm-hmm.
But it was copyright free and they're free for use for things like that.
Yeah. Creative Commons.
Yeah. But, with the context of the song, what if someone sued Devon for saying, I hope I'm not getting him lined up for a lawsuit, by the way. Like, sexual depiction
Mm-hmm.
of character or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my whole point with this, it sets a precedent for other lawsuits, and same thing with this antitrust thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Apple has several of those going on right now. Does this, in your mind, set a precedent for other similar issues or other similar cases? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think it does set it up for a lot of other tech, companies who are engaging in some of these, because I mean, we've already seen currently, like with this Epic trial, Apple versus Epic trial that's been going on, it's already kind of brought in other players. So like Microsoft and Google and other characters, because a lot of these entities for a long time, and I feel like this is a little bit of our legislation's falling behind, but they've been able to operate in these more antitrust behaviors without any sort of repercussions. So yes, I do think that this specific case is actually going to have shockwaves when it comes to what's going to happen in the future with the Apple versus Epic case. And to be honest, I think this settlement that they did shows just how scared Apple is.
Yeah.
Because
Why do you say that?
well, it's because I think they understand how much they've been participating in antitrust behavior on their platform.
Oh yeah.
And I think they understand that. And I think, to be honest, I think they've always understood that. It's kind of one of those, a part of the risk deal, you know. If you can make tons of profits and not have to worry about it, or there's a lower amount of it, you can just have it in your rainy day fund ready to go. So I think that this is kind of a part of that, and I think they're also trying to use this. Someone else said this, but I think that Apple's also going to try to use this for like a public thing, like to say, "Hey guys, see, look, we're trying to help. We understand that we're wrong. We're going to try to do what we can to help people." Just like you were already alluding to earlier, this is going to make more developers want to go onto the Apple platform. And so I think that they're just using this right now as a way to, help them gain some more favor as this Epic versus Apple trial continues to go on and uncover more and more stuff, because we've already learned quite a bit of really interesting content from it, and it hasn't even fully finished or gotten into the final gears.
Like what were some of the things that we
so one of the things that was really interesting is that in the early years, I wouldn't say early, but I would say probably around 2014 or so, one of the top execs, I think it was like a VP of something, was actually considering working on a project to bring iMessage over to Android, which is really, really interesting.
That's right. I do remember this. Yeah. But they claimed it was proprietary to Apple, though, didn't they?
Yes. Well, I mean, they already knew that it was proprietary to Apple, but the whole point of why this exec was trying to bring this up and trying to say, hey, we should probably start moving it over, was because WhatsApp had come out and it had started to gain a lot of traction. And it's doing pretty much it was at the time it was doing, I mean, it still kind of is, doing the exact same thing that Apple is doing currently with their iMessage. It's just a lot more accessible because it's on both multiple platforms. You can communicate the same way on every, whether you're on Android or you're on Apple, you can communicate easily. You don't have to worry about any green bubbles versus blue bubbles or whatever like that.
Yeah. Man, when the phone turned green, the text turned green. Never had a moment that wasn't that way with Denison, unfortunately.
But essentially, you didn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. And so it became something that was on the radar, because what he was saying at the time was it was a possibility that WhatsApp could overtake iMessage. And it could essentially, lose them the game or whatever like that. And the big thing is, and a lot of people have to understand this too, is that the iPhone is probably one of Apple's biggest and most important devices that Apple sells. It's what gets people. It's what gets people into the Apple ecosystem. Because you start with the iPhone. It used to be the iPod, but now it's the iPhone. But yeah, you start with the iPhone, and then you move to you get an iPad, and then you get this, and then you get that, and it's one of those things that just kind of continues to trickle through. And so, yeah, that was kind of an interesting that kind of started that we got from just this case kind of slowly going through, and documents being released because of the case and stuff like that. So bringing it back to the ramifications of this, I think right now it's just a save face to kind of see what's going to happen in a much bigger form. But
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to get your opinion on a lot of this.
Well, yeah, I think that words matter. And while we may see that less in other certain social aspects of our life,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really matter more than it does in legalese, really.
Mm-hmm.
Lawsuits. I want companies to be able to profit. It is nice to be able to, like, that quality control, like I was talking about with Apple.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that they're able to download or offer apps that you can trust won't crash your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
They make they may crash your phone, make it restart when you open the app, but it's not going to do any sort of damage to your product. Although
Mm-hmm.
you could argue that with social media apps that unknowingly to you relay your info to other groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's why Apple came out with that new update that required um, or informed users of where your data is going.
Yeah, right, exactly. So they're trying to do their part, and I actually do believe them. I believe them, and that was why they didn't want to give over their data to the government several years back, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as this was for being able to track possible terrorists, right?
Well, they were trying to unlock someone who was involved in terroristic activities. I think terroristic is the right way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were trying to get into that phone, and they were asking for Apple's help, and Apple said, "No, we're not going to do anything."
Mm.
And yeah, so
I,
Apple does try to do their best to respect the privacy when it comes to
right,
that.
and I appreciate that
Mm-hmm.
because that again is an example of something that would set a precedent. In the moment, you would have wished that they would have helped out, but they're not harboring terrorists by any stretch.
No.
But it's the precedent that sets. Well, you let us do this once, so we need to do it again,
Mm-hmm.
and again and again and again. So I appreciate how strictly they take their security. With that said, yeah, they should absolutely pay equitably and fairly
Mm-hmm.
companies that are using their product space. I think they should take a cut, for hosting.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. But I do think that it shouldn't be 30%.
No, it shouldn't be 30%. So remind me what the cut is that they will be taking now.
I think they're gonna lower it down to um as long, but that's the thing, right? If this is for the in-app purchases. They're
Yeah.
gonna lower it down, I think, to about 15% for the in-app purchases, and that is only until the app developer gets past a certain point.
Yeah.
So once they get out of the Apple's consideration of small app developer and moving into a bigger one, once they move into that category, then they up the price back up to 30%.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's really just a band-aid, really. It's not really a it's a, like I said, it's for a save face.
Yeah, it really is. They took this opportunity, it seems like, to try and get other similar lawsuits off their back, especially that it's up to them to decide when you turn from small to big,
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you're an app developer right on the cusp, you're gonna probably not try to grow your product for the sake of you'd have to double the amount you'd pay Apple for every purchase.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that they should get a hosting fee. Of course, they are hosting where these apps are sold and implemented, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it needs to be fair to the businesses who are building them, right,
Mm-hmm.
and developing them. So yeah, I agree with you. It feels like a band-aid. It feels like, from what I understand and how you've explained it to me, that it's just a temporary thing. I think that they're going to have to do bigger settlements in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that I think um, there could be more done to be more fair. Now, obviously, the draw is so great, the gain is worth the pain, right, for these companies
Mm-hmm.
that are selling these products. And so they're still willing to do it. But, I can't really think of many other markets where that's the case. I mean, even if you use Amazon, I want to say it's 5 to 10%.
Mm-hmm.
I sell music here on Reverb. It's 3. I mean, I can't imagine paying 15% to sell something, even, which is half of what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's in-app purchases, like we said, I can't imagine doing that.
Yeah.
And in the end, if
It's a
they're,
big cut.
yeah, and in the end, like you said, if they're allowed to use their own website, um, for these in-app purchases, they're absolutely going to be drawing people to that, and it's going to hurt Apple more in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So, are they going to be able to host these purchases on their own site off App Store, even if they get classified as a big app, or is it just for the small apps?
No. So they're still opening that up to all developers.
Okay, I mean that's a big thing. I think
Yeah,
it's
but
almost bigger than the other. I feel like.
yeah, but the thing is, you have to think about it, right? These are, I don't want to say it this way, but it's just the truth. These are in-app purchases. When you have already had an app out there that has garnered a bunch of users to get used to purchase. If you want to purchase something, you're going to purchase it through the app itself. Um, when you've already gotten used to that, then you're going to be less likely, even if they say, hey, you can get a discount if you go to this site. When are you going to actually do that? Especially if you're in a hurry, like say it's some sort of quick game, like I don't know, Clash of Clans or something like that. Now, of course, that wouldn't be under the small business window, but if Clash of Clans said, hey, we can add extra bucks or whatever like that to your account, if you just go into our website, but you're used to just like, well, I'm just going to do it right now. I just want it now. I'm in the process of it, because essentially it takes you out of that immersion. And then now you have to go back. You have to open up your browser. You have to go to the website. You have to log into your account. You have to do that. So, I think it's going to help the developers more than it's going to actually hurt Apple.
Oh yeah,
because that's the thing. Like I said before,
I can see that. Yeah,
it's a convenience thing.
Yeah.
The in-app purchase is still a convenience thing, and it's still something that you are actively having to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not that much of a, and to be honest, this is Apple, right? This is a big corporation. Yes, you can say, it's less money that's going to go into their pockets, but they are a big corporation, and they've been doing antitrust things for quite a while. And this is just one thing that they're doing. There are a multitude of other things that they're working on and doing and gouging and stuff like that, that we don't even know about or don't even realize. I think that's the other thing. That's a lot of the stuff we kind of overlook.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
And so, yeah. And then they did, like I said, they did create that big fund. I guess one thing that I did want to kind of quickly comment on is, so that fund, you would think, oh, cool, it's $100,000 going out to small businesses or small developers or whatever like that. The issue with that is that the lawyers that helped with this class action lawsuit, of course, they're going to get paid, but it's a common practice with a lot of these class action lawsuits where the lawyers are going to be paid a lot less while they're working on the case, and then they'll take a big sum out of the settlement. And so in this case, it's to the tune of about $30 million.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Which is insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. And that's, they're still in talks, of course. So that is what that's what they're at right now.
Okay.
They could easily take more.
But that is split across all developers, right? Small
developers, yes, which is a lot.
Do you know how many are labeled under that?
I think that are under that. I think it's somewhere around like 100,000, maybe a little bit more than that.
But
of that classification.
but so that's only gonna end up being like $100 if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not that much.
Yep. Out of exactly. And like I said, that's right now it's only $30 million.
Yeah,
It could be smaller.
yeah,
Which is sad,
yeah.
right? It's
This would be $1,000, but still, that's not that much for a company. You
Yeah.
know, it's really not.
exactly. And that's a one-time fee, right?
Mm.
It's not something that's a continuous thing. Now, of course, that's the reason why the opening of stuff is a little bit more of a more deal, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting. There's a lot to come from that I think will change how we download apps and everything
Mm-hmm.
and use all of it. So it's an interesting story, but I'm glad we had that discussion though.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time we jump over to the next topic.
Yes.
The next topic I want to talk about is the milk crate challenge, man. So I want to talk about how we got into this.
Mm-hmm.
We follow this guy on social media called DJ Michi Meech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy cracks me up. He does vocal overdubs for basketball mostly. It's mostly basketball. And so it's just the most outlandish of things that are supposedly being said, right?
Yeah.
On the court or even thought in the players' heads. It's so funny. And then when it's playoff time, there's a whole Dragon Ball Z outro where it freeze frame and then monologue. And it says, find out next time on. It says Basketball Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, hilarious. But he did this video on the milk crate challenge the other day. And that's how I found out about it, being the boomer I apparently am, technologically. But you know what? I just feel like I wasn't missing much, because there is it impressive when someone makes it over this? Yes. But is it stupid? Absolutely. So here's what this is. For those who don't know, it's essentially a pyramid of milk crates stacked upside down, and people have to climb them, stepping on them, and getting to the top, and then climb back down without falling, right? So one thing this reminds me of is the Shiggy challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. Because the Shiggy challenge was the Drake "In My Feelings" song. It was this internet personality called Shiggy that came up with the dance for it, right? So it was like people doing the dance. It went super viral. The song blew up for Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably is the best song on that album too. but it blew up, and then I think it was Odell Beckham Jr. The wide receiver, right? He was playing for the Giants at the time. I want to say it was either he or Sierra, the pop star, that hopped out of a moving car and did the dance while there was a camera shooting toward the open door. They did the dance and then they hopped back in the car, right? And man, the videos that spawn themselves off of that, talking about guys hopping out of a car, doing it, and then smacking their head on a street sign while the car keeps rolling, right? Car turning, crashing into something while they get hit by a car.
Just, car door closing and locking.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't stop the car. Then just oh man, wild stuff. But it was something that started off as harmless and turned very dangerous and very risky, right? Of course, it was national news and all that. But in this case, to me, what I see is people doing something that's already dumb and making it more stupid.
Yep.
I'm talking about the people who stack it extra high, or the people that put it next to concrete or on concrete, right? If you fall on concrete, man,
it's over.
Maybe I could see if you're hell bent enough on wanting to do this that you're putting on concrete to make it more stable in theory rather than grass. But man, the fall is gonna be way worse if it was on grass. So There's also the cinnamon challenge that comes to mind.
Yeah, yeah, that was bad.
People trying to swallow a spoonful of cinnamon. The Tide Pod challenge, for what it's worth, was mostly a hoax that was just being joked about on social media.
Mm.
And this is something that, as a side note, I've seen multiple times on the news. Another one that pops into my head, and what I mean by this is where they can't discern what's a social media joke and what's actually a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that pops into my head is when Paul McCartney wrote that song that Kanye ended up singing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are all these social media posts talking about um, so nice of Kanye to give this up and coming songwriter an opportunity, right? Or maybe even say something to the effect of, giving this old man a chance he would have never had otherwise, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the media was not able to discern that that was a joke. People were just being goofy because it's freaking it's a beetle, right?
Yeah.
So, but with the cinnamon challenge, you're taking a spoonful of cinnamon, trying to swallow it all at one time. Naturally, you're going to cough, and when you cough, cinnamon goes everywhere and burns. People were actually dying from it
Mm-hmm.
because they were going above and beyond. But
Mm-hmm.
why is it that you think these challenges arise? Why is it that you think that these happen? You know, and before you answer that question, Christine's chiming in on the live stream here. She said, "I saw a guy almost died trying to do the milk crate challenge, and oh, here we go. Like he just barely missed the edge of the pool when he fell. Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole crux of what actually is bringing up why we're discussing this. Somebody did die in Dallas from falling on their head, and it's tragic. You see this. So, what is really the motivation for all of these challenges, like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge?
Mm-hmm.
That was dumb because it was supposed to raise awareness for ALS. But it was just a social media trend of people dumping ice water on themselves.
Well, yeah.
The intention on that was pure, and I'm not knocking that at all. But that's not what a lot of people were doing it for.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I mean, with a lot of this, I think it's just human nature, right?
Clout.
Well, yeah. There's clout. There's human nature. Because a lot of times, well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say a lot of times, but I feel like sometimes the people who create these challenges are the ones who get a lot of the publicity from it, from being able to create it or whatever like that.
Sure.
And yeah, it makes you feel good, or it makes that person feel like they've accomplished something, or they're able to be famous. Because I think that's the other thing, right? It's being able to accomplish these crazy challenges has the possibility, or at least the perceived possibility, of gaining some sort of internet fame.
Yeah. Right. And everybody, I want to interject this. I think you're right. People still think that they can become internet famous just off doing some average viral thing.
Yeah.
And it will actually mean something beyond 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. People think that they can win I like to think of it as like the everybody wants to get to that YouTube famous point, right?
Yeah.
To where your videos just explode, and this is what launches your career. It's the YouTube lottery, right? Where everybody just decides to follow you forever, and your videos explode and they continue to grow up, and you're going to get this huge momentum or whatever like that. And your life's set.
Right.
Now all you have to do is create cool videos or whatever like that, or do certain things that you really enjoy, and people will always follow you.
Sure. That type of mentality.
Yeah. It's getting that type of publicity is what really fuels people, and what really makes people feel like, man, I made it. I did something. And so I think a lot of people will get onto these challenges and think like, hey, well, if I can go up and down these milk crates, man, everybody will remember me.
Right.
And bam, I become super famous. I become important. I'm going to get and that's the other thing, right? We've already had people do this outside of YouTube, but we've already had people get famous for strange viral videos or whatever like
Sure.
that. And then they get featured on Ellen or whatever
Like
like
chocolate rain.
that. Exactly. Or the guy who's like, it's like, damn, Daniel, that
Yeah.
that
Back at it
those
again with the white
kids, yeah,
vans. Yeah.
exactly, they got featured on Ellen, or they got featured on the Today Show or whatever like that, and people feel like oh man, I can be that person,
Sure.
so they're hoping like, wow, if I do these milk crates or if I do this other challenge, I get on to the Today Show and get on to Ellen, and that's my golden ticket.
You really think that people think that? I mean, even if you get on Ellen,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're off Ellen the next day, and your life is back to the way it was.
True, but you get that traffic, and if you know how to use it, or if you know how to use that traffic properly, you can
Well,
start stuff really quickly.
most of the people that have actually done that had a plan in place. They had a social media strategy in place, a content development strategy in place, or they like take Bad Baby for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
God awful rapper. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but she went on Dr. Phil, and what I'm 98% sure was paid publicity stunt to have that whole argument with Dr. Phil about uh, Catch Me Outside. How about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And blows up. I can't believe that was almost 10 years ago, by the way.
So strange.
I know, but that blows up. And then about a month later, she drops a rap album. Has oh man, Ti helping work on it.
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of stuff. And I want to say Trey Songz had a song on there or something like that.
Mm.
And I mean, that was absolutely a publicity stunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you're on Dr. Phil, you're having this thing, but they had a content plan in place. And I think most people don't really realize that. I think people think, oh, that's so crazy. She was on being a spoiled, rotten kid. How is it that she makes it, has a rap album from that, and, all of a sudden blows up because of some random crap that she said on Dr. Phil? No, that was already in place.
Yeah.
That was already in the works.
Yeah.
She got rich families.
Yeah.
And she may be on Dr. Phil talking crap about her parents, but that was a stunt.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I could agree with you on that, but I think to me, if that is the case, it's a lack of knowledge and understanding from people as to why
Mm-hmm.
that works for some and doesn't for others. So milk crate challenge, dangerous. People are falling. Some people are even kicking the crates out from under people while they're on top.
Yep.
Come flying down about 6 feet, laying on their rib cage, and
Mm-hmm.
even happened to a police officer in one case. And one thing I guess I want to carefully touch on is about the I know we kind of talked about the soft mic a little bit, but
Uh-huh.
is about the racial condition of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are by no means are there solely black people or Hispanic people
Mm-hmm.
doing this challenge, but a large majority of the videos are that.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be in low income neighborhoods, right?
Mm.
A lot of times. And I myself have never bought anything that involves a milk crate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And neither have you, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Yeah.
not really.
So this involves, to me, specifically, race aside, low income communities. And them, buying these milk crates at their local store
Mm-hmm.
in large amounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a weird way, are we kind of mocking the underprivileged,
Mm-hmm.
and making entertainment out of that, because I know one thing that you and I spoke on is, I mean, black people and black culture have been punchlines for decades, right?
Yep.
Even black comedians, a lot of them, their jokes are about black culture, you know?
Mm.
So, and I would say this, maybe not so much anymore, but certainly over the years and with the time of, oh man, he was so famous back in the day. Anyway, I'm blanking on it right now. Early black comedian.
Mm.
Did a couple movies too. Um, but do you feel like there's any? I realize this may be a stretch, but it also is interesting. I also have yet to see anybody in Beverly Hills doing the milk crate challenge, right?
Hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on what I'm kind of leaning at here?
Um. So I guess my thoughts are, I mean, there, as you said, it tends to be that there's a higher higher amount of minorities being featured in these milk crate challenge videos than there are in um, uh, non-minorities, so white people, I should really say.
Right.
Um, I think, to be completely honest, I think some of that, because a lot of people are watching this on TikTok,
Sure.
and I do feel like some of that is because of the TikTok algorithm. Um,
How so?
well, it's already been shown in some cases to um, essentially pick. Now, of course, this is a different case, but it shows that it does have some sort of bias. Usually, now, of course, I should really say usually the bias is with sometimes there could be two users who have the same content, um, and it tends to recommend the user who is a uh, white person than it
Mm,
does black creators. I should probably preface it by like
really
pushing white creators a little bit more than black creators.
interesting. Okay.
Um, so it could be more along the lines of um, now, of course, some of this can also be going from just because of where the app was created and some of the other using the algorithm off of uh, the market that it was first created from,
Sure.
which was China.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't that kind of crazy though that an algorithm could read that far into the content?
Not really. I mean, think about it. We already have facial recognition software that's already having issues with that has sadly it's a lack of programming, I should really
Mm.
say, of where it has a hard time of distinguishing differences in black people,
Mm.
where it'll say like, oh well, this is the same black person as this other person,
Mm.
because it's just like, oh well, they all look the same.
Yeah. Wow.
So again, if you are a um, of the white persuasion, when you're coding some of these applications and stuff like that, and you're
Sure.
telling the algorithm and you're feeding the algorithm information, if you're feeding it a majority of white content, then it's going to try to um, do a more of a bias towards that because of that's the content that it was fed. I mean, that's just how AI is built and how algorithms are usually built. It's all very dependent on the amount of content that it's being fed when it's first being created. Now, of course, it changes and grows and morphs and change and stuff like that. But when you start with a problem or a certain indifference or whatever, it it takes a little while for that balance to change.
Mm.
But anyway, going off of that, I do feel like it could be some of that could be because of that.
Mm.
But I do think that it could be um uh, to be honest, I don't really have a good answer. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of I think some of it could be um use of just, uh, what's I'm trying to remember what the good word or the specific of the word or category that I'm trying to go for, but it's essentially like profitizing off of a minority group
Yeah.
rather than, going from there.
Sure.
Or just another way to feed into a certain stereotype.
Sure. It was more just an observation on my end. I noticed, hey, this is interesting. It just stuck out to me, I guess. And I don't know if it means anything societally or not. And I guess that would be up to the listener to decide. But regardless, I do know that it's a dangerous thing.
Yes.
And you would see whole community or maybe whole blocks, maybe a whole family even come out and be watching this happen as if it's the hottest thing on the block going on, and it just is incredible to me that this is how we choose to spend our time. We've been locked up for a year and a half and people are still just getting out for the first time.
Yeah.
And we go to milk crate challenges,
Yeah.
I think it's the lack of resources and entertainment and things to do that lead to things like that happening. Right.
Yeah, I can see that. And we still technically have a relatively high unemployment rate. So that is also could feed into that.
Yeah, sure.
As well.
Sure. So I'm not going to try it. I did the ALS challenge a couple years ago. It was cold. I kind of wish I hadn't done it.
It was.
It was very cold. I think I challenged you, didn't I?
You did.
I did. You did it. You followed through.
Yeah, I did. It was cold.
Yeah. But
happily, it was a hot Texas summer, so I warmed up quick.
I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you dried off fast too. But you know what? Things like this, I'm staying away from. I have no desire to show people I can climb milk crates from top to bottom. So, anyway, I think we had a good discussion on this. Thank you for hearing me out on that. And
of course,
just a good episode overall. I'm glad we were able to do it once again in person. This is fun. If you can't tell, we're both a little tired, but it's because we've been having too much fun with each other over the past couple of days. So I'm grateful for this time, and hopefully there'll be another one coming up very soon. But yeah, man, this is a great episode. You got anything you want to add before we sign off?
No. Just it's been great being here, enjoying the company, and can't wait to do another in-person catch-up, man.
Heck yeah, man. All right. Well, once again, please leave us a rating and review what you thought of this episode, and hit the subscribe button if you liked us. And check out our website, nosignalrocks.com, and hit the drop-down menu and find the Catch-Up Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you so much for watching over on our Facebook page. And we'll catch up with you next week.